This guy has an amazing, very impressive vintage monster toy collection. He has everything from action figures to memorabilia, autographs, masks, and he also creates his very own life-size action figures of the characters that you and I know and love. And without further ado, I want to introduce you to Clay Sayre. We're here with Clay Sayre. Clay, thank you for joining us here on the Weird Kid Show.
My pleasure.
Yeah, and it's an honor to talk to you. And you sent me pictures of your collection. I was blown away. It was phenomenal. I want to know more about it. I'm sure the viewers will too. So I just want to ask. Let's start off with. Before we get into this, I'd like to know, when you were a kid, what inspired you, or in my case, if you will, corrupted you to go down the path that you are now with all of this here? Was it the movies? Was it the toys? What was your experience? Was there any kind of profound moment where you just fell in love, or do you have any moment? Or
Oh, definitely. I was blessed with a mentor in my grandfather. My grandfather was one of these people that I think his mantra was, "When are you going to pass this way again?" And as a teacher, as an artist, I really hang on to that. I mean, that's my mantra. And he just enjoyed every little thing of life, I think. A big one was he was a genre fan. He liked science fiction. He loved horror movies. And back in that era, about the only way you could go see these movies, you could go to the library. Sometimes they'd have 16 millimeter prints, and we'd go there a lot, watch a lot of Flash Gordon, a lot of the old serials, and a lot of horror movies that would come through there. Yeah. And then he was always one of these, I got to have the latest technology, got to have. So he was a big 8 millimeter guy. Okay. Yeah. So he had a projector. He had a lot of the movies, and this would be all the old Castle Films movies. And I would go there, and he would show me these things. And whenever I wanted to see one, he'd pull everything out, and we'd watch it. So the first one was Great Moments of Phantom of the Opera. And that was the moment. That kind of solidified what I wanted to do as a creative person. Involved with makeup, and I like acting. I'm not the best at it. I've done a little bit of it, but I like it. I enjoy it, but I really enjoy creating, and that's sort of my guiding, and that all comes from him, and a love of monsters. Yeah, that's fantastic. That sounds like fantastic memories. We're blessed when we have moments like those with our elders, and that they're able to plant a seed in us like that, and that must have been fantastic. I had experiences with the 8 millimeter, and you can never forget that sound. You never forget that sound, and the sound of the projectors and stuff like that, and then of course to be in the dark and experience some of those old films, from the third, Universals and stuff like that. It must have been just magical. And to this day, if there's an addiction, one of my addictions, and I'm gonna move the camera as we go, and show you a little bit of things in the collection that sort of tie into what we're talking about. So this is one of the first ones, if you can see this. Yeah. It's a shelf unit that's nothing but 8 millimeter movies. The nice thing about this, my fiance she built this for me. Oh, fantastic. And it serves as two actual purposes. It is a shelf, and it is something else that all little kids want, and that is, let's see if I can do it. It's a secret door.
Oh, wow, that is so cool. Yeah. Wow.
And it actually goes into a makeup room.
Oh, cool. Great. That's awesome.
So
That's
that
awesome.
ties into something we'll talk about here shortly, I'm sure.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Now, and of course, I remember those fondly because I used to see them all the time advertised in Famous Monsters of Filmland magazine.
Yes.
Yeah, and the diverse amount of films that you could get your hands on, and I guess from where some of them had sound, some of them didn't. I guess it was hit or miss with, but that's awesome. So, very cool. So, what else? What else you got here? I see it's like a treasure. It's like a dream come true in there. I see all kinds of goodness in there.
Well,
So, but let me ask you real quick. So, what do you remember? Like you talked about the relationship with your grandfather, basically planted the seed with cinema, predominantly horror, old horror. But do you remember like the first collectible that you had that you really kind of treasured or something? You know?
Oh yeah. I was a kid of the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
More so. I mean, I was born in the mid 60s, but as far as monster collectibles go, it was the 70s because there was so much stuff that I did not have or even see when I was a kid. So when I really started getting into this, of course, everyone started talking about the Aurora kits.
Yeah.
And I never saw a long box when I was a kid, what is considered a long box Aurora kit. All I knew were the glow boxes.
Yes.
A lot of people, they collect those. So I collect the glow boxes. So they're all back there in the corner.
Okay. Nice.
So I guess you could see that.
Yeah.
And then next to that was something, because we didn't have huge toy stores. I was a big collector. Well, I can't say collector, on a very limited income, but these are all AHI monsters.
Oh yes, yep. Which is just for our viewers, it's Azrak Hamway. It was a company out of New York, I believe.
That's right.
Yep, and they had actually got the license for Universal Monsters back then because they were trying to compete with their foes right next to them. I recognize as the Mego figures from
the Mego figures, right?
Which were unlicensed.
Right, and they beat Mego for the license. Now, Mego made a better product, but I preferred the AHI figures. They're goofier. They're frustrating as a collectible because they come in so many different variations, as you can see. I never saw the creature as a kid. That came later, but I had all the other ones as a kid. And this was probably the beginning of really starting to collect the monster stuff were these figures. And then through that, I picked up some of the other stuff, usually little figural things. So these are some of the
Remco stuff. Yeah,
8-inch pieces and some of those, and then in this section I don't have the 3-inch figures. I have all those carded, and those are actually
okay. Let me point out too to the viewers too, because you got we could look at the Remco stuff again. That little cage there is called the Monsterizer.
Monsterizer. So there's two different sizes of the Monsterizer. There was one made for
the 9-inch, yeah,
which is this one, the 3-inch. And the one back here is the one that was made for the 8-inch.
Yes.
Or the 9-inch figure. They're actually 9-inch figures.
And that thing is super, super rare. That's a hard find, and here you have it in your collection. You have both of them in your collection.
Yeah, the little one is actually the harder one to find.
Yeah.
Of the two. And then these were Remco, not afraid to reuse molds and reuse things either. So they just took the heads and the hands and made cloth bodies and had these little finger puppet things. and that's what they are. They're very hard to find. I'm still looking for the Dracula one. It's the only one I need. Oddly enough, they didn't make a Wolfman one.
Oh, interesting. I did not know that. Did not
Yeah.
know. Now, do you have 9-inch creature?
No. Oh God, no.
And then there's the Phantom. The Phantom too, I guess, is another really hard one to get your hands on. But I don't know, for people that don't know, there is a feature with those figures where they have kind of like an elastic. I want to call it an elastic arm, and you push the button on their back, and they're supposed to be like grabbing action, if you will, with the
right.
Yeah.
Let me get it around. Maybe we can do it with the mummy. So yeah, if you push on them, see if I can feel it. I don't think I can get my hand up in him. See if we can get him on the Wolfman. Nah, not with the thing on him.
Yeah, well, and they're getting to be, they got some time. They're tired. They're wanting to retire and just relax.
They are done.
Yeah, but fantastic. That's some good stuff there.
So, like a lot of people, figures. Probably the biggest thing is figures, masks. I like all the Ben Cooper, all the Collegeville, all of those. So I have a ton of those. I'll show those real quick here.
Oh yes, yep.
So
I wore many of those as a kid. They were cheap, and it was an all-in-one with the cellophane window box. You could get the mask and then the slip-on, I'm sure, fire hazard suit.
Yes. And I keep finding more. I keep finding a lot of ones that I never knew. So here's a whole bunch more.
Wow. You just gotta love the nostalgic colors, the color schemes, and beautiful. That's very impressive. I love that. That's beautiful collection for Clay.
I have probably 120 loose ones.
Wow.
But yeah, that's one of my other lines that I collect are just those that I really, really like.
The Don Post stuff, any of that? Like, did you like the Don Post masks?
As a kid, those were something that existed only in Famous Monsters for me. I never saw one as a kid. They never had a place that sold them where I ever saw them. Mm-hmm. So that came later, and by that time, it's just something I love them. They're a little out of my price range, and plus a lot of people have really nice collections of those, and I do have a couple of them. I have a Hyde, and I have that's a newer issue, and I have some like 80s issues of a Glenn Strange Frankenstein and a Dracula,
nice.
Which right there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I can remember him. I used to love. Glenn Strange with Abbott and Costello, and
oh yes,
classic stuff. Yeah, good stuff.
And so I kind of fill in the gaps with some oddball masks that I don't see a lot. Mm-hmm. When I do pick them up, usually that's what I'll pick up. And then making some of my own stuff, I'll do that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll get it. I want to definitely talk about that because you shared with me some very, very interesting photos that pulled on a heartstring for me because it was stuff that I was living when I was a kid of the 70s. Some stuff that was very dear to my heart. But I definitely want to talk about that stuff as well. So you're still actively buying, you're still collecting and adding pieces to your collection, huh?
Unfortunately for my bank account, yes.
Yeah. It's cool that it sounds like your wife supports the habit, as to where sometimes some, it could raise an eyebrow with the spouse or something. That's like, We're us grown men buying toys. I mean, I'm guilty of it too. I've got a whole collection of toys, and I absolutely love them. So the question is, why do you do it? Why do you do it? I know why. But maybe some of the viewers don't know why.
I don't know. I think for most people, collecting toys is just a link to the past.
Mm-hmm.
The odd thing is when you start collecting beyond what you remembered.
Mm-hmm.
Like a friend of mine, we always used to play this game. You'd take an issue of Famous Monsters and look through it, and then take a page and go, you can have one item.
Uh-huh.
Out of this one page, and that's all. You only get one. And those sort of became things. Go, wow, man, maybe one day I'll come across that. Maybe, I myself, I don't have a huge spending budget for this. I sell stuff to buy stuff, and so that's where any money comes from. It's just flipping stuff here and there, and I've sort of drawn a line on certain things that I'm not interested in that are monster items. I don't really collect Addams Family. I don't really collect monsters.
Yeah.
I have a couple pieces here and there, but those I sort of leave out. Where a lot of monster fans, they include all that stuff.
Right.
I do have some Outer Limits stuff, and I have some other '60s TV show stuff. I also collect some Planet of the Apes stuff.
Nice.
Some older Star Trek stuff that I had as a kid. I used to have a huge collection of Star Trek, and I sold that years ago. I had a huge collection of Planet of the Apes stuff.
Like just diversified, or did you with mainly the Mego Corporation stuff, or
it was everything.
all the abject stuff.
Yeah. Oddly enough, when I moved years and years ago, when I moved from West Virginia, which is where I was born, and I moved to Virginia, and I sold all of it to one guy, actually to his mom. And years later, he found me on Facebook and just sort of reconnected and go, do you remember? And it was one of these kind of parking lot deals. And, some people would be, I gave up all that stuff. I found it heartwarming. I actually did. It made my day that this kid had hung on to it. Yeah. And it became his collection. His mom had helped him get it. And it was a lot of stuff, but he had held on to it, and then he went from there and started collecting and got really into it and stuff. But it was a special memory for him. And I was happy to be a part of it that way. I never felt a sense of loss or anything that, I got screwed or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I proceeded to start buying a lot of it back, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Probably, there's days that I walk into the room and go, well, maybe it's time to let all this stuff go and just sell it all. I have a huge collection of autographs, and I feel that way all the time about that. You talk about an odd hobby. That's an odd hobby.
Autographs.
Autographs. Because when you get into any toy collecting, it's sort of odd that I remember I got into resin kits, and I don't know if you ever got into model building as far as
absolutely. Yep.
Kits.
Yeah. And
the first time you go, like I went to Chiller Theater, and that's kind of where I got into it. I thought, $50 for a model kit, and I got to sand it, and I got to do all this stuff with it.
Yeah.
And once you get into it, then it's like, $250 is not bad for that.
Yeah.
That's sort of with monster toys when you get into where you're trying to track down some of the 60s stuff. That's kind of where you are, and you're sort of weighing its rarity to how bad you want it as far as that attachment. I mean, there are people that collect just to hoard, just to be the best. I have to have every piece. I have to have more than everybody else, and I'm just doing it for nostalgia.
Yeah.
It connects to me, whether it's some tiny, goofy little thing, or a little bit bigger. Then I'll be interested in it. But I've also been very lucky about getting stuff and not having to spend a lot of money. The people look out for me, and I'll just stumble upon something. I've been so fortunate that way. I've not put near the kind of money that some people put into their hobby.
Yeah. Well, that's looking for deals and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Now, were you myself? I'm sure you remember if you did the same thing before the internet. There was shows periodically, but then I don't know. Did you used to buy a toy shop magazine?
Oh, yeah. Used to scour toy shop.
Too
late. By the time you scrounge up the money and send it off, it was already gone. Or try to contact the people, it was gone. But yeah, that was sort of the beginning of getting bit that way. Yeah, toy shop and toy shows. I'm still, if I see a yard sale sign, I got to go. It's like a big magnet. There's that potential to find something.
Yeah, you don't know. The Holy Grail could be sitting there and not even know it,
Right. Right. Yeah. And some of it is just the fun of the search.
Yeah.
And that makes it fun. Otherwise, you're just bitter when you don't find anything.
Yeah.
And it's the experience was fun, especially if you're sharing it with other people. A good friend of mine, he and I have an exchange thing, and this is sort of inspired by my grandfather too, where we would go somewhere and we'd be looking through stuff, and he would go, "Hey, such and such, they collect that, don't they? Let's pick that up for him." And it was just such a sign of generosity. It was nothing off his back, quarter, 50 cents, something like that.
Yeah.
So we continue that. And every so often, each of us will get a box from the other person.
Oh, that's cool. That's really nice.
A combination of kitsch and goofiness and stuff that is just the worst.
Yeah.
Just goofy stuff. But it's fun. It's a sense of humor, and you really get into that. The fun of just getting something, someone picked it up for you, and enjoying it for its pure level of toyness, if you will.
Yeah, true. That's true. That's awesome. That's really cool. It's almost like Christmas too. You don't know what you're gonna find in that package. So
that's right.
Yeah. So let me ask you, Clay, what would be considered your most favorite piece out of your entire toy collection? Do you have one, or is that a hard question to answer?
A favorite. I think I would still pick my Frankenstein AHI.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I know it's nowhere near the most expensive item. But it is one, and if I had to get rid of everything, that would be literally the last thing I would let go of, because I had it as a kid.
Yeah.
This is not mine as a kid. Unfortunately, because I think I have an 8mm film that shows how my original one got destroyed.
Oh yeah. Was it a little minute juvenile Hollywood production? Was it involving firecrackers or something?
Oh, always, and fire and water and just a fortune of Migos and AHIs and Tomlins and all that stuff. But it was fun. We had a good time, and G.I. Joe's and Big Jim and everybody else in there.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I see somebody there behind you, and he looks very familiar. That's the Maskatron from the, what was it, 1976, $6 million man, around that time, 76, 77.
Don't ask me dates.
Anyways, that is Maskatron, and he was an enemy to Steve Austin and $6 Million Man.
Over here.
Yeah.
I'll show you a picture of this. Now, that might help if I go the right way here.
Okay, now you didn't buy that. You made.
No, I made.
Okay, that is super cool. That is really awesome.
I made this one. What this was made for, and this is actually the second one that I've made. This was for the Hollywood Museum in LA. I also made a bionic Bigfoot. Worked on a full-size death probe that's there.
Nice.
Did a lot. And this came about linking up with a good friend of mine, Kelly Mark DeCambry, which he does a lot of restoring props and restoration and full-size figures and things like that. And he and I constructed the Bigfoot. I did the sculpture and built the head, and then I got together with him and we finished the body. And that was for a private collector, and that led to some other jobs. And then that led to this display that the Hollywood Museum wanted to do for the anniversary of $6 Million Man. And Bionic Woman. It wasn't just $6 Million Man, but so I built the John Saxon, the Maskatron. He does have a face. This one is the second one. This one was the first one is in the museum. This one I just built for myself. So he's not completely finished yet. So I'm still finishing up him. And eventually I'll make myself a Bigfoot.
Nice. Now, of course I'm going to share the photos with the viewers, but
yeah,
how tall, and from what I think it was Andre the Giant that played Bigfoot in the $6 Million Man episodes.
Yes. Well,
correct?
Two. I mean, Andre did it first, and then Ted Cassidy. So Andre was in one episode, and Ted Cassidy was in the other four, including crossover with Bionic Woman.
Yeah.
I did the Andre version.
Okay.
I prefer that one. And to do it, tracking down Andre's proportions. The head itself is huge. It's gargantuan.
Now, how tall was that? Because how tall? Because you dwarf in comparison to that.
I would have to look back at my notes. When Andre wrestled Hulk Hogan for whatever WrestleMania that was, they had these promotional posters that listed their measurements side by side, and that's what I used as a guide to make. Nice. Because it had like the circumference of his head, it had, his body measure and everything. So using that, I was able to do the sculpture for the head, and then, like I say, finishing it off. The teeth and the eyes are all acrylic. All the hair work some is punched, some is hand laid, and then making the body.
Very impressive. It was beautiful. It looked just like it. And some of your other creations I noticed look like Tote from when he was exposed to the Ark of the Covenant. Yeah.
I don't have a finished one of that. This is, when you post the picture, I do have this is just a raw pull.
Nice.
Of him before he gets painted and everything. And these are cast in they're rubber, foam filled, so it's pretty light, pretty durable. You can punch him, drop him on the floor, set him on fire if you want to.
Yeah.
So I do I try to do a bunch of those kind of things here and there. I don't do as much as I could. I just don't have the time with teaching. Once the school year starts, that pretty much takes up most of my time.
Yeah. So, was there anything else that you wanted to show me, or?
Just ask.
Yeah, it's a bit overwhelming because you have a tremendous amount of stuff.
I know this is if you're a 70s kid, most kids like this, which is all the
Oh yeah, the premiums, the cereal premiums.
Cereal premiums and stuff
Yeah,
like that. This room
that was.
currently is.
Sorry.
Go ahead. I was going to say this room currently is in a little bit of disarray. I had a couple horror conventions. One that is a local one here in the Atlanta area, which is Monsterama, that a friend of mine puts on, and then the other up in Virginia, which was Monster Fest last weekend. So this room's just in disarray from pulling stuff that we used for display and things like that for the convention. So
Okay, so maybe we get you to get down here to Spooky Empire here in Florida.
oh yeah,
Uh,
well I was
yeah.
supposed to go to Pensacon
Uh-huh.
last week. I really wanted to take the tote bus down there because they had Paul Freeman and Wolf Galar. And I thought it would be a lot of fun to get the photo op with those two and the tote bus in the same picture. So
Yeah.
but I just time, getting off for school is difficult sometimes.
Yeah, I understand. I understand. So let me ask you, Clay. Um, you don't know. We don't know. Somebody might see this, maybe a young person, and they see all this cool stuff, and it invokes something in them, and they think, man, I would really like to start collecting monster toys
Right.
or just monster memorabilia in general. Um, what advice would you give that person? Like, how would they get started? Where could they look as far as research sources is concerned?
Okay. I mean, that's a good question. And there's a good and a bad to this. One, I notice online sometimes, and you probably witnessed this too, that younger people will come into some of these forums and be a lot of older established collectors,
Mm-hmm.
and they will talk down to these young people like they don't know what the history of it. And it's like all you're doing is driving these people away.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Be open to these people. Like they're coming to you for advice and information, and they are you back then. They're excited. They saw something that they connect to, and we should encourage that.
Yeah.
There are some good books out there. I think the better ones are the ones that aren't price guides.
Yeah.
And online, Ray Castille's old Gallery of Monster Toys site is still active. That was the first one I stumbled upon. And Ray does a podcast about different toys. There's of course, Facebook, there's a Vintage Monster Toys forum page on Facebook. I think that's a good starting place. And then you just get to see a lot of the stuff that gets posted, and you get to see pictures of it. So if some of it's not obtainable, you can at least learn about it.
Right.
And the other is, I think, estate sales are gold mines for stuff. It's just getting out there and staying open to the fact that these are toys. Kind of figure out, are you a mint in box type of person? Or are you okay with it out of the box or somewhere in between, or a little roughed up and played with? That's usually how people start, and then they make a decision which way they're going to go. And I could tell you, there's still stuff out there because there was just so much made.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're going back to really the good stuff back to 61. So that period between 61 and about 65, there's just so much stuff.
So you're saying that not all of it met their demise with firecrackers and fire?
No, you could still get some of the other oddball stuff. It's surprising how many of the models are still out there, model kits, and still in boxes, and games, board games, makeup kits, these costumes. The 8mm stuff is still out there because people stored that stuff away. Yeah. And then through the estate sales, the new families don't want it, so they'll get rid of it. And there's still some good toy shows. You all have some good shows that come down your way, down in Florida, I know. So things like that. It's just don't lose track of that. It's just fun to go look for this stuff.
Yeah, right. Well, that's awesome. Clay, I really appreciate this. It was really, really an honor to get to look into your little the window of your little collecting universe there and see some. I saw some really rare toys. I'm jealous. I hate you. One of them's right behind you too. You actually two. I see two right there. I see the Alien, the 1979 Alien Xenomorph from
there.
Kenner. That was now. Does he have the dome and the inner jaw?
Oh no! I wish.
And then next to him, the Shogun Godzilla, which I remember getting for Christmas.
Yeah. Now he's complete.
Good stuff.
Beside him is the Monster Lab. That's from the '60s. It's little.
I think it was fun stuff. The Frankenstein.
Stuff Frankenstein.
Yeah, he breaks out of the table or the cage or something. I can't remember. That's a pretty hard to find piece now too.
Your earlier question about what would I save? Surprisingly, this is what everybody thinks I would save. So I'll show you this case.
Okay.
That's one of them right there.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you can see that. Let's see. Can you see the horoscope?
Oh yeah.
The Frankenstein bucket.
Uh-huh.
That's what I mean. Those are high-end stuff. There's one of the paint by numbers in there. The wallets are back there. The creature aquarium figure.
Is that the fish tank creature?
Yes. Yeah.
That's. I mean, we're talking. I think I saw one on eBay recently. Just says like $500 for that piece.
Yeah. This is one of the notebooks.
Nice.
From '63. I mean, but this doesn't hold. This stuff's nice, and I really like it, but it's not quite. I don't know. It doesn't hold the same attraction as some of these.
It doesn't invoke the nostalgic feelings you had when you were a kid. That seems very typical. Is the things that we're most drawn to are things when we were young and most impressionable. The movies, the toys, and that's why I think I'm 50 years old. I just turned 50.
Oh, you're young. You're young.
Yeah, but
a youngster.
I'm a big kid at heart. I love all this stuff, and I think it's because I remember how it made me feel when I was a kid living it.
Oh yeah. Well, it's like George Carlin would say when they asked him, I guess when he turned 80, what it felt like to be 80, and he said, "Well, I'm 80, I'm 37, I'm 14. We're all in here. We're just lucky enough to know someone or have someone that knows how to drive."
Yeah, that's how. Well, Clay, that's classic. I think we're going to end at that right there. Classic stuff there. I appreciate it so much. And do you want our viewers to come check out your Facebook? Is there a page or something that you'd like to share?
I post here and there a lot of like gag toy postings and stuff through Facebook. They can contact me there. I also have one called Clay Sayre Studio that I put some of my artwork and more of the creative stuff. They can reach out, contact me there.
Awesome. All right. Well, we'll be providing some links there, and maybe we'll catch up with you again in 6 months or so and see where you're at. If you've added anything else or sold everything and had sellers
started over.
Yeah, that's it. That's like you said. I think it is it's not the kill; it's the thrill of the chase.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, probably I'd have to look for either an addition to the house, or because if I keep making these full size figures, I'm running out of space for them. So.
Yeah, you remind me of Tom Savini. You know Tom Savini.
Oh yeah.
Because he's got a whole room in his house in Pittsburgh that, and he flat out will tell you. He says my action figures are full size, and he's got full size mannequins and xenomorphs and all kinds of. I'm there again. I'm jealous and hate him. So, but
well, that's where I'm moving, because right now I've got a full size Grimsdyke, which you saw the pictures of that one.
Yeah.
I have the top. I've got some Star Trek ones. Got a couple that other people made for me. I've got a full-size Nosferatu.
Nice.
And
I think I saw Bela Lugosi.
Right, that was for a private collector.
Yeah.
He has three of my figures.
Wow.
And a House of Wax.
What if somebody wants to commission you? Can they commission you to do this? Or is that something you're taking orders?
Yeah, okay. Like most of these, even the bionic ones are all available for sale. I mean,
nice. Okay.
That helps me fund to make even more.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand. So. All right, Clay. We really appreciate it, and thank you for taking the time to show us your collection. And it's been wonderful. I really appreciate it.
It's a lot of fun. Anytime you want to do it again,
Absolutely, let's do it. So,
okay.
Thank you, Clay, and we'll catch up with you in a bit. So, was I right or what? That is an impressive collection, and he has a bunch of stuff in his collection that just made me drool. I myself have had some huge collections. Some pretty rare pieces too. I've bought and sold over the years, and I ended up selling my last big collection to make my first film. I do have a collection now, although my collection room is in disarray. If you're interested in seeing the collection room of the Weird Kid, just let me know down in the comments. Let me know what you collect. I'm super excited about what's coming. We've got a bunch of interviews lined up with people that you're going to want to hear from. The Weird Kid show is looking like it's going to have its first sponsor, and it's a cool one that I can't wait to share with you. I've got what I call a rebuild that I'm doing that I don't want to give too much away, but I can't wait to share that with you. I've got another mad scientist contraption build coming up with some comedic moments that I just, there's so much, there's just not enough hours of the day. I'd love to be doing these all the time, all day for you guys, because there's so much information that this Weird Kid needs to get out of his head before it explodes. So I appreciate you. Please like and subscribe. Let's get to that 100 subscriber mark so I can do this giveaway. I've got all kinds of stuff amassed that I want to give you the 100 subscriber giveaway. So until next time, I appreciate you. Peace.